At me. Okay, without wasting time, before Sheena comes in, I've just seen the all speakers today are going to speak for roughly 10 minutes strictly because we're going to go by time. But I've just seen now the MP for Shipley, MP Philip Davis, who's going to talk briefly on his piece on community cohesion. So, MP Philip Davis. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. Thank you very much, and thank you for organising this event. I spoke to you. I'm not sure it was sometime before Christmas, and you said that you were going to do this, and you've done it. And I'm very grateful to you for doing it. It's a fantastic initiative, and I really I don't want to speak for too long, as it happens. I like to hear to what everyone else has got to say, but I thought I would take the opportunity, Tony, if you don't mind, just to repeat a bit of the conversation I had with you when we had this discussion before Christmas, because it was why I thought this was an important initiative. And I've long been concerned across the Bradford district that there isn't, as you said in your opening remarks, not enough community cohesion, maybe too much segregation, and looking at what we can do to deal with that. And actually, I think that many of those issues are relatively simple and could be overcome simply, but are actually, even though they could be overcome simply, are quite difficult to deal with for a variety of reasons. And I've tried in my own way to try and do this over a period of time. And I just want to share really with everybody one of the examples I always give when I talk about these things. I went a few years ago, I went to speak at a public meeting in a community centre in Manningham, very close to Bradford City's football ground. And it was a debate. And I've had a few of these across the Bradford district. It was a debate about the wearing of the burqa. Now, I suspect, obviously I don't know, people might say that I'm wrong about this, but my suspicion is that if I was to do a referendum across my constituency, in the Shipley constituency, on whether or not we should ban the burqa, I suspect a large majority would vote in favour. Now, I wouldn't, as it happens. I wouldn't vote in favour. I wouldn't. I'd vote against. I don't want to live in a country where the state passes laws telling people what they can wear and what they can't wear. That certainly isn't the kind of country I want to live in. But I think the majority would. And the point I made at this debate in Manningham is that if we're going to have proper community cohesion and we're going to deal with these issues, we've got to better understand each other's perspectives. It's no good, people trading insults or people thinking people are narrow-minded or whatever it might be. We've got to try and understand people's perspectives, because usually, there'll always be a small minority of bigoted extremists. You'll always get that, and they're not worth worrying about. The vast majority of people aren't. The vast majority of people are very decent people, and it's incumbent upon all of us to understand people's different perspectives on things. And during this debate, I gave an example of what I think is parts of the issue and how it could so easily be solved if we do more of this kind of thing that we're doing tonight. And the example I gave during this debate about banning the burqa, the example I gave is that potentially there could be one of my constituents would get on a bus in Bingley, for example, and they've got a bus pass, and they'd get on the bus and they'd have to show the bus driver their bus pass with their identification, and before they were nodded on and they could go and take the seat. And that constituent of mine in Bingley goes then and sits at the back of the bus. And later on the bus journey, somebody gets on the bus who has got a full face covering. And of course, the bus driver largely for, potentially for reasons of political correctness or whatnot, doesn't ask the person to remove their face covering. They have a bus pass, but they just get waved on without identifying themselves. And potentially, you can speculate as to why that might happen. It may well be because of political correctness. The bus driver thinks if I ask for them to remove their covering and somebody complains about it, I might be in trouble, I might get sacked, I'm not going into that, so I'm just going to let them get on the bus. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the person who got on the bus in Bingley, who had to identify themselves before they were allowed on, is fuming that there seems to be one rule for one and one rule for another. And therein, just with a simple example, can build up an awful lot of division, resentment that needn't happen. And I gave this as an example as to why, something very trivial and simple can cause, widespread difficulties in terms of community cohesion. And at this debate, the interesting thing was that when I gave this as an example, the imam who I was there on the platform with debating this said to me, well, I agree with you about this, absolutely. And he said, it's very clear that people who are wearing a full face covering should be requested to remove it for medical reasons, identification purposes, or security reasons. There isn't any problem with asking somebody to remove their face covering. They should be asked to remove their face covering. And I think, you see, it's just a very, people might think it's a trivial example, it's a small example, but the point I'm trying to make is I said, I think that if that message were given far and wide to lots of people, some of the resentments that people have about, well, how is it I have to identify myself but other people don't, would be nipped in the bud right from the word go, and would be on a much better footing. And I think sometimes even the most trivial of examples and trivial of things can build up resentments that never really get properly addressed. And I think any platform which enables people to express their views, their concerns, their issues, have where people can have an open dialogue, where they don't feel they're going to be castigated for saying something that other people think is unacceptable. Because if we close down those avenues of debate, or where people are afraid to speak up because they think they're going to be accused of being racist or xenophobic or whatever it might be, if you close down those avenues, you can always stop people from saying things that you don't want to hear. Of course you can, but you can't stop people thinking them. And I think that any ways that we can, all of us, facilitate discussions and debates where people can speak their mind, say what they think, say the things that make them feel uncomfortable, the things that they don't like, as well as the things that they do like. All of that kind of dialogue, to me, is absolutely essential in making sure that we have much more community cohesion across the district, and that people feel much more at ease with lots of different communities in the district. And I think it's really, in many respects, it should be simple to achieve, but it has proved not to be simple to achieve. And that's why I'm really keen on this. That's the basis of the conversation I had with Tony before Christmas, and asked if there was anything he could do. And it's absolutely fantastic that he's come up from London and thrown himself into the local area to try and make a difference in the local area. I can't speak highly enough of Tony and his can-do attitude. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But the message I really want to give is that there is a lot to do in order to build a better community cohesion across the Bradford district. We've got fantastic community spirit in lots of places across the Bradford district, but they don't always work cohesively together. There's been some great examples, and it would be remiss of me not to mention during the 2015 floods, when my constituency was very badly flooded, the amount of help we got from people from all different backgrounds, from right across the Bradford district, helping local communities at that time. That's absolutely fantastic, and that kind of thing does more to help with community cohesion than anything, I guess. But I think we've all got a responsibility, not just to criticize viewpoints that we don't share, or that we personally think are unacceptable. I think we've got a duty to listen to what people have to say, understand their perspective, even though it may be one that we don't share. And I think if we do that and have more of these things where people have a platform to say what they think, so they can better understand each other's standpoints and viewpoints, I think we can make a massive difference for the better across the Bradford district. And I will do anything I can to help with that. I think this is a fantastic initiative, and I hope it's the first of many such things that we see in the future. And Tony, again, I want to thank you for doing this, and for everybody else for participating and contributing. And I look forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Thank you very much, MP Davis. And as you said, it's all about respecting and embracing different viewpoints and voices here today, independently, so that we can all work together to make Bradford and surrounding areas a better place. Without wasting much time, I'm going to bring on a friend of mine here who is a Bradford-based published poet, activist. She does all sorts. She has a very active voice. Her name is Sheena Hussein. Give her a big hand of applause, please.
Thank you very much. I've unmuted myself and that helps. Okay, I'm going to start off with a bit of my faith to begin with. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatin min lisani yafqahu qawli wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Oh Lord, make the path of speech easy for me and loosen the knots of my tongue and make me understand what I say. Peace and blessings on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Greetings of peace from my heart to all of you. A very good evening. Thank you to Tony for giving me a platform to talk at this evening's event on interfaith and community cohesion. For those who think I'm reading poetry, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's strictly speaking today, perhaps poetry for another evening. A quick introduction then. I'm a former lawyer. I came out of the profession after receiving a cancer diagnosis a few years ago. I write poetry, essays of cancer, therapeutic writing, facilitate workshops. I'm also the founder of a children's poetry competition, Poem 99. And also I run Females Can, which is a network for empowering women, regardless of religion, who have been through cancer and recovering from cancer, and also their carers. So if you want to know a bit more about that, I will give you my website towards the end, and you can, pass those details on within your cohorts. Interfaith work and community cohesion, great, great concepts, great ideas, but I just don't see enough of it here in Bradford, as opposed to, let's say, London. Bradford is a diverse and multi-ethnic demographic, so I'm not sure why, we are struggling to gel together. But I think before we look at interfaith and community cohesion, we need to address something far more serious, which I believe, if not dealt with, will impact on future generations to come. I'm seeing communities become more polarized and fractured, which is worrying because of this thing. You're probably wondering, what am I alluding to? I'm talking about racism. Yes, you heard right, racism. And I'll say a third time, racism, and that's for George Floyd, rest in peace. I believe it is far more serious than coronavirus and cancer put together, yet nobody seems to want to curtail it. Turning a blind eye is not the answer, because by doing that, you become part of the problem. You are complicit. I truly believe, because as humans, for years now, we have been abusing and usurping the rights of man, and the pandemic is a sign of Allah's wrath. The Quran says that Allah has destroyed nations before, and he will continue to destroy them again. Allah says he who mocks will be ridiculed himself. Looks like PM Johnson is donning a softer version of the niqab. I'm sure you get the drift. I shall say no more. I don't think I can possibly do justice to racism in the short amount of time that I have, but I set myself a challenge in December. I wanted to see how many things I could find race-related, and I was flabbergasted. There were lots of them, but they were hidden, but I managed to find a few examples to bring today. The first one, a Black father fears for his children based on racism he suffered back in the 50s. He believes things have not changed. He gave an example where he takes his children to school. He's pulled up in the bus lane. We're all guilty of it. Police has issued him a ticket for an illegal maneuver. A white woman pulls up and does exactly the same. He asks the police if she's going to get a ticket. Police reply, no. There are two ladies who are bystanders. They just shake their head and they walk away. So unfortunately, those two ladies are also part of the problem, because shaking your head is just not good enough. He asserts that the chances of a black person being subjected to racism on a scale 1 to 10, listen to this, is 9. I could not believe that he put it so high. So my question to all of you is, when are we going to get the R rate down? And I'm not talking about that R rate, I'm talking about the R in racism. When are we going to get it to 0? Because that's the day I will come out of my house religiously every Thursday and clap, because that will be true victory. COVID is not the only pandemic, people. Racism is also a pandemic. So let's collectively play our part, and the same energies that we are putting behind this pandemic, let's put it for the pandemic of racism as well, and regain freedom for all. Second example, black teenager wins 16K in damages after top shot bosses call her thick and saying that she is earning a lot more money for someone like her. Now we see these, direct discrimination and sometimes even subtle microaggression in the work environment. I'll give you an example. When I first started practicing as a lawyer, I was engaging with a colleague of mine, as you do, and it was a work permit for a couple. Both were from Africa, husband and wife, nurses, earning a great amount between them. As soon as I came back to my office, he shouts from his office, "Don't you just hate them when they earn more money than you?" It was clear what he was saying, they as in black people. Now, unfortunately, I didn't say anything at the time, but I knew it was wrong. You're young, you're naive, you enter things that you're not very familiar with. But I can assure you, if I heard something like that, there would be words. Moving on, Dr. Susan Moore from America died from COVID very recently, but she earlier had asserted that the doctors were not taking her seriously. She alleged racism just before she died. She had neck pain for which they refused drugs. She felt crushed because she was made to feel like a drug addict. She was a doctor, for heaven's sake. When she says she doesn't take narcotics, she is hurting. Why was she ignored? A last example, Ali Imdad, a Muslim and a former contestant of Great British Bake Off. I'm sure you saw all this. It went viral. Subjected to a torrent of racial abuse by a woman, a very ignorant woman, alleging he was responsible for all the bombings, i.e. he is a terrorist. And the poor guy, all he was trying to do was get home on the bus. But again, the people who didn't speak on the bus are part of the problem, except one brave girl who was a black girl, and she empathized with Ali, and she said she also gets the same thing when she's traveling. I'm going to give you a very recent example to do with me. Now, I've not established whether it was race related, but I'm going to relay it anyway. I was part of this hub, I'll just say a hub, and a WhatsApp group was set up. I did something, the ethnic lady, and an English lady did something as well, but we were both treated very differently. It just happened that one day we were talking on the WhatsApp group about race, and I thought, well, I'll just put the question out there. Why was I treated differently? And I got, the typical response, I suppose. Are you accusing me of racial bias? Well, guess what? I'm not even going to entertain you. So like the MP was saying, the debate there was completely cut off, and that is problematic. That is very problematic. And again, the WhatsApp group, which was very lively before this incident, suddenly became very mute. Again, they are part of the problem. I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to take up too much. I'm just going to conclude then. I just think we definitely need more dialogue. We need to create safe spaces for everybody, regardless of faith or no faith, race, age, sex, or any other artificial barrier you can think of, to come together and talk about issues which matter to us all, but as humans first, and to be critical, because it's only through critique does social change manifest. I want to finish off on two quotes. The first is by Maya Angelou. Prejudice is a burden that confuses the past, threatens the future, and renders the present inaccessible. Very profound words. And the second by a lady who paid the price with her life for promoting much goodness in society. We are far more united and have far more in common with each other than things that divides us. Late MP Jo Cox. And two of the women that I want to mention, because not to mention them would be a complete disservice to them and also to myself. They share the same ethnicity as me. They're Pakistani British Muslim women who are activists in their own rights. They are constantly challenging injustices, discrimination, hate crime, Islamophobia. Poet Suhaima Manzoor Khan and Maz Salim. Some of you might know Maz Salim. Her father was killed by a neo-Nazi Ukrainian back in 2013. Now, the way this terrorist was treated compared to a Muslim terrorist is very different, perhaps a debate for another day. Okay, that's it. I think I'm going to leave it there, but I'm just going to congratulate all those who are being awarded this evening for the tremendous amount of work they do to keep the fabric of our society closely stitched in. You, in my heart, are the true champions. If anybody wants to connect with me, you are more than welcome to do so. I will put my details in the chat box. I wish you all a very good evening and enjoy the remaining part of your event. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Tony.
Thank you. Give a big kind of applause, please. As the evening unfolds, please feel free to use the chat box to connect and network with anyone you feel like. And the conversation will continue to unfold from today as we go on as well. I want to bring in now another friend of mine. He is Dr. Chris Bem. He's a surgeon at the Bradford Teaching Hospital. And he has his fingers in very many pies, and he's also into like personal development and positive thinking. So give him a big kind of applause, please. I think he's Dr. Chris Bem is muted.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself now. So first of all, so Sheena, thank you very, very much for your presentation. You've focused on a number of things, and thank you, Tony, for arranging this. And again, thank all the people who will be awarded. That there are people who are motivated, want change, and so let me just say. So I will speak, I think, for 5 minutes. And so first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm a medic, a doctor, and I think that a medic, a doctor, in other words, I would like to look on myself as a healer. In other words, someone who goes and sees things that are wrong, that are difficult, and wants to bring unity and unity and harmony. And it's very interesting, this, because when somebody comes to me who's ill, then I know that their body, and quite clear, and often this is the mind as well, their body is not functioning completely. It's not functioning coherently. The cells are not working together. Either one cell or something is activating it, messing it around, or like a cancer, decides, the cells of a cancer decide, no, we're the boss. We will tell everyone. We will destroy your body just for us. And this is and then we look at community and society today. And what I suggest is that there are many things that are going on. And as I say, it's not a long time I've got, but one of the things is that quite clearly a community, a society, a world, unless we live together, unless we understand each other, there is no way that we can move towards health. And also I've been interested in a number of things. And one of the things is origins of words. And one of the things that really fascinated me was that I found that health and holiness and wholeness actually come from the same original Indo-Aryan word, because a lot of there have been different phases in evolution and various things, is that and that means this oneness. In other words, health is about harmony, completeness, working together. So and that takes us to as Sheena talks about the importance of dialogue. And I think we've got many pathologies in the contemporary world, and I think that one of them is actually our worldview. And I think that the worldview is, and this goes back, I'm just going to offer you something now, in which I think that we humans, we're evolving into two subspecies. One is Homo sapiens individuans. In other words, it's a human being who can only really think of themselves. And the very best thinks that they're in league with other people who think like them. And there's Homo sapiens communans. In other words, the Homo sapiens who recognizes, no, we are here together. And just going back evolutionarily, I would say that that's actually, you know, when we think about evolution, you know, the origins of life, or the origins of life began with a unicellular organism. In other words, there was a cell with just a membrane, and it formed, and then you think, well, in evolution, that cell actually decided no, and I say very strongly, it decided that it would actually relate and communicate with other cells, and gradually the cells got together, they formed bigger organisms, more intelligent organisms, and this is a very strong the evolution, because I find it strange is that a lot of the things we think, we believe, we think that they're absolutely obvious. And now I will just go to Darwin's theory of evolution, and I'm not opposing evolution. Evolution is the evolution of change. You know, there is no doubt that we are in a time of cultural change, and that's part of I would say the nature of our lives, the nature of this. Well, I won't use the spirit. Let's use the word the spirit, the animation, the things that moves us in a particular direction, and this animation, this spirit moves us forward, and referring to the theory of evolution. You know what we have the theory of evolution, which became the survival of the fittest. You know, in other words, the people who rule us, you know, they are the greatest. And I think to myself, well, Darwin's theory was absolutely perfect for the imperial times. You know, we are ruling the world because we are the fittest, we are the strongest, we are the most intelligent. But in fact, I want to offer you something that is very important when we talk about community. It's actually the theory of symbiosis. And there's someone I read actually, I just found when I was 21 or something, and I was just in a big library and I just came across her book, and I was fascinated by it because it said, the book was called The Symbiotic Theory of Evolution. And if you're not a biologist, then I will explain about symbiosis. In other words, it's organisms and life that lives in harmony together, that support each other. And again, returning to when I look as a medic, I look at a body and I see all the cells, they're supporting each other. That is harmony. And when we see that in a society, in a community, no, we are here to help each other, to serve each other, to understand each other. And that takes us forward. And I think that COVID is showing us very strongly that. And with that, I would just say thank you very much for letting me talk. And I hope I offered something. I don't know what I did, but anyway, best to you all, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gris. Please give him a big hand of applause. We now want to bring in Mr. Charles Dacres, based here in Bradford also, who's going to talk about a very, very interesting project. Spoke to him for the very first time late last year. And yeah, nice to meet you finally, Mr. Charles. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. And thanks for inviting me, and thanks to everybody for the contributions. Interesting. I'd love to kind of, you know, run the debate with some folk, particularly around Darwin's theory of evolution. Kind of, you know, and for me, my part, just to say who I am, my name's Charles Dacres. I'm the director of Bradford Hate Crime Alliance. I have lived and worked in Bradford for probably all of my life, including attending university in Bradford as well. And I've worked in the areas of equality and diversity as a professional, I guess. Recently, I've had the fortune to lead the review of the Statues and Monuments review, and as many of you will be aware, that there have been campaigns to tear down statues and monuments around at various places around the country, and Bradford, in its wisdom, sought me out and asked me to lead on Bradford's review, because it was really important for the city to look at its own statues and monuments and see whether or not there was anything in there that people needed to that we needed to address or remove. It's been interesting. It's been a really interesting journey, because I think what has been highlighted, one of the key things that's come out of that research for me, and it really touches on something that Sheena had said, was something about identity and belonging. And one of the things that was very clear is that for many of the Black people and people from Eastern European communities and from our Asian communities are not really identified with Bradford, identified in Bradford. You cannot find a monument or a statue anywhere that says actually this individual contributed, or that person did this, or this group did the other. Yes, we have places of worship that we can identify those places of worship, but we actually don't see a great deal which is identifying achievements of communities or individuals. And as a result of the review, what we did find was there were no statues in the district that we needed to remove. However, we did find that Oliver Cromwell and his contribution and the impact that he had on the impact that he had in terms of some of the things he did, particularly with the Irish community, was a statue that we've got. It's not a statue, actually, it's a bust of him. You know, various other monarchs and so on and so forth that are also up, and we can also look at their histories and what contributions they have made to our wider society. I think the one key thing that we did draw is for those individuals who we do recognise, people like Peel. Actually, many of the people we identified with were real abolitionists, really, and that was a real positive thing. I actually, you know, I was hoping to find something that might have been slightly more kind of negative and in line with what everybody else was looking at, but we had a really, really good, strong sense of abolitionism here in Bradford. I think for me, the key to the whole of this is about how our communities are working and living together and living alongside one another. And it's interesting to hear certainly what Philip had said in his opening about the way in which we are living as communities and whether or not we are cohesive. I think Tony touched on the same thing. I think there is this notion of silos. There is this notion of people doing okay in their own little bits. And it's interesting to note that today, you know, when we look at the audience and who's involved, you know, there are lots of people that would benefit from being part of this. And we all have to, I think Sheena said it, we all have to do our bit to join everything up. And actually, if each one of us worked in our own little sphere of influence, then I think we'd find that we'd have a significant kind of crowd of people who all believe in the same way. So just going back to the monuments, I think what we did kind of highlight was that we needed to better tell the stories. So the plan is that what we are going to do is we are going to better tell the stories so that our young people and those people growing up will get a better picture of the individuals and the statues that are around. We're also going to look at how we look at celebrating and identifying people who have contributed to this district, because what we have got in our communities, we have some significant individuals who have made significant contributions and they've never been recognized for that. I don't think people do it for recognition, but I think it's important that we know what contributions those individuals have made. So we're now into the second phase of the Statues and Monuments review, but a lot of that will be about just actually opening the doors and saying to people, this is how you have a street named. And if you want somebody to be named after a street, then you can go through this process, and this is what will happen. This is how you become, get the key to the city. And this is how, so it's about explaining some of those processes, because many of us are not aware of how some of those processes work. So it becomes really difficult. You see somebody get an MBE, OBE, or an achievement award, you go, well, how did that work? And actually, it's about the networks working together. And actually, for many of us, and for many of us in our communities, the networks are not working in that way. And we really have to strive to get our networks to better communicate. So I thank Tony for pulling this together. I think it's a brilliant start and a brilliant opportunity. I think what we do have to do, if we're all serious as Bradfordians, we all need to come together and do our bit in order to really bring about some genuine cohesion within this district. So on that note, I will end. I will stop on that note. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else has to say. But also, for those people who are receiving awards, it's important that we do recognise your efforts, and that actually this is one point to say they don't go unnoticed. So thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give him a big round of applause, please. I'll now like to bring in founder of or spokesperson for Bradford for Everyone, Matt Henderson, who also does some lovely work in the community as well with various initiatives, which will inform you. Give him a big hand of applause, please.
Hi everyone, my name's Matt. I hope you can hear me okay. Just let me check. So yeah, thank you, like Charles said as well, you know, thank you for letting me speak tonight and having me here. That's been a really interesting start to the conversation and wasn't quite what I was expecting, if I was honest. You know, it sort of triggered a lot of thoughts in me, and I think we could talk about this topic and conversation for weeks really and not touch on it. So I'm sure there's a lot of opinions and things there from what people have said already. Because it is such an important issue and a topic of conversation to talk about community cohesion and interfaith, you know. I'd just like to share something before. I just need to make sure I can see it okay. So my name's Matt Henderson. I'm from Bradford for Everyone, and we're the MHCLG funded social integration program for Bradford called Bradford for Everyone. So I'll just go into that in a bit more detail in a moment, and I'll try and not speak for too long. But I just wanted to share this. We're doing research with the Social Cohesion Network, known as Belong, as a district, and working with the University of Kent. And they've been carrying out this research recently during the pandemic and find out social cohesion investment across 6 local authorities find that when you invest in social cohesion, people were less cynical about the political system. They perceived current government restrictions to be more appropriate. They had warmer feelings towards others, particularly migrants, and were less likely to endorse conspiracy theories. And I thought they were quite you know, strong findings really, and showed that the current situation and with investment in cohesion, you know, is working positively. It's bringing people together, so it's worth that investment. It's worth that time. It's worth us coming together. It's worth all the resources we put into it, because there are challenges, and I think you know, those on the extremes are important to tackle as well. But across the board, we really need to recognize that we're all prejudiced, and we live in a prejudiced system with racial injustice, a systemically racist system, which ends up in having statues that aren't representative because of the system that's in place. So it's about that systemic change, but also tackling the important issues of racism, which Sheena introduced. And you know, there are certainly a lot of people that want to tackle racism and a lot of projects, and part of that is what we do at Bradford for Everyone. So I'll just quickly say a little bit about Bradford for Everyone. So we're funded by MHCLG. We have a strategy called the Stronger Community Strategy, which Bradford for Everyone is delivering on. There's 4 pillars to that: getting on, getting along, getting involved, and feeling safe. And that's about improving integration across characteristics: race, religion, sexuality, gender, ability, for people in education, employment, making sure people understand their rights, their access to education, to social mobility, getting involved in social mixing, and able to have those difficult conversations as well, those uncomfortable conversations, which MP Philip Davis highlighted. And also creating a district where everybody feels safe and everyone can be themselves and feel confident to be themselves. And we've invested a lot in this over the last 2 years, which will be in March. We've been funded for a final 3rd year. So we'll soon be having our 2-year report coming out later in the year, but you can find on our website our current 1st year findings. But we've funded a number of projects under those pillars there that made a good difference. It's a test and learn program, so we're learning what works and what doesn't work. And tonight I was going to talk really about, you know, that in terms of faith. We've been working a lot with schools and the linking network, bringing different faith groups together and young people to have conversations, working with the LGBT community, LGBTQ plus community and faith groups. We've been doing projects in churches and mosques, bringing people together to do art projects, Leaf will probably talk more about that. It's more their stream. But in terms of integration, we've used art and creativity as a way of bringing people together from different faiths to create community art and build friendships and relationships. We've had taken part in things like Islamophobia Awareness Month, create positive conversations between religions. And we've got two very important campaigns, a shared values campaign, because really in Bradford, you know, I live in Bradford and work here, and very proud of that, because we have such an opportunity to get to know different people with different backgrounds. And, you know, there is a common set of unique values in Bradford that Bradford people will know what I'm talking about, and other people can learn
Just
about.
amazing how there's so many different things that are going on that we don't get to.
And we have these values are we share, we care, we protect, and we respect. You can find more about how to implement those values on our website as well. I can share more about that if you get in touch with me. And we are also running a campaign on critical thinking, which has been highlighted as well tonight, to recognise that we can all be prejudiced, and to increase critical thinking rather than myth busting creates a narrative where people can learn, and we can reduce hate crime overall. We've been working a lot with Charleston Hate Crime Alliance on this strategy. It's called Make Sure It Adds Up. So when you're talking about religion, make sure it adds up. When you're talking about race, make sure it adds up. And let's encourage each other to think critically and look at different points of view. You know, I heard interesting viewpoints there on evolution. You know, I'm a creationist, but you know, to hear it from that imperial stance, and you know, thinking more of a symbiotic relationship is quite interesting. So we're always learning and thinking more creatively. So make sure it adds up. So these two campaigns, values and critical thinking, are part of our program. We're also an intercultural city, an ICC, and we see diversity as an advantage, as a diversity advantage. We've seen that in terms of our response to the pandemic in Bradford. You know, we've been able to pull together in lots of different ways and help each other and use that diversity advantage. And part of that is also language development and learning, which is important, which is part of our program. So that's just sort of touching on some of the areas which we're working on in Bradford for Everyone under those 4 pillars of education, employment, social mixing and feeling safe, working a lot with the friends and partners here in the room. We've also been doing a learning journey with colleagues in Fresno in California, which is a similar demographic makeup city to Bradford, about 500,000 people with a similar ethnic diversity of about 50% white, 50% non-white, and a mix of religions, growing Muslim populations, and diverse religious communities. So we're on May 27th, we're working towards a learning seminar on interfaith. It's an opportunity to learn about good practice in interfaith development, learning how you can learn about different faiths and speak to people positively and constructively and think critically when talking about interfaith work. And like I say, we work across all the protected characteristics and want to bring people together positively, to do projects together, work in partnership, to increase that diversity advantage as an intercultural city in Bradford, and take forward the learning that we've had from Bradford for Everyone. So hopefully we can share that more with you soon. Please do go on our website, bradfordforeveryone.co.uk. You can find out more about the team and who we are and the projects we're doing. And it's very important to mention we have a partner forum which you can join, where we get together and learn and share together. You can join our network where you can get updated on work that we're doing, our newsletter, further information. And part of our governance structure, as well as the board and the forum, are our Bradford for Everyone ambassadors, which are local people representing each constituency area, as well as young people and ethnic and religious diversity of the district, to be ambassadors and share their opinions on the work that we're doing. So please go on and have a look, bradfordforeveryone.co.uk. Thank you very much for having me tonight. It's a great pleasure. And congratulations to everyone getting their awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Give him a big hand of applause. Okay, and we would like to now introduce Ishmael Lee South, who does some great work in Manchester and Bradford as well. Ishmael, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Tony, for the invitation. I'm born and bred in London. Through my wonderful wife, I've moved to Manchester. But I have to shout out Brother Tony, who's invited me to Bradford on many occasions to deliver at many of his community events, which are very inspiring. Also, I have to shout out Brother Rizwan Harris, who's a wonderful community worker, forward-thinking community worker from Faith Inspire, and also from Bradford New Muslims. I've been honored to come to Bradford on many occasions due to Tony and due to Rizwan Harris. Myself, Ismail South, originally I used to work in banking, and then unfortunately, due to my nephew and some of my cousins getting involved in gang crime, without knowing, I got involved in youth work. And when I got involved in youth work, it was originally in my own local community, and then I got thrusted into doing community projects around the UK. So whereby I'm here basically to say, as a youth worker and as a youth work advocate, is that I'm calling on all our churches, all of our mosques, to be a place of youth engagement, to be a place of gang crime intervention, to be a place of solutions and not of bureaucracy and of hypocrisy. Because many times I'm hearing stories in Bradford from some of my counterparts in Bradford that they want to do youth projects, they want to do youth programs, but they find it very hard to find a place to facilitate the programs. So as a youth worker, one of the things I would love to say, and I say this with respect and with humility, is that I'm hoping and asking if there's anyone here who has a space available, who has a church, who has a mosque, a temple, any form of place, a free space. Please, can you work in partnership with youth and community facilitators who are on the ground doing work? Because as we all know, youth work as a whole, according to the YMCA, their funding has been cut by over 70%. Though that's just the youth work within local authorities. As we all know, there are many people who are doing, I would call, with all due respect, real youth work, who don't work with the local authorities. They work independently. So if the local authorities' youth work budget has been reduced by 70%, many of the on-the-ground grassroots youth workers, their funding has been cut dramatically and drastically. So I'm here just to make a plea and a request that if anyone has a church, I'm saying it again, has a church, has a mosque, has a temple, and it's just gathering dust and nothing is happening there. We know due to the pandemic, nothing's happening, but I'm talking optimistically after the pandemic. I'm making a kind request. Please reach out to the youth and community workers who are working on the ground day and night with and without a paycheck in helping our young people to stay away from gang crime, which is prevalent in our cities, including London, Manchester, and Bradford. Stay away from county lines, which is at epidemic proportions in London, Manchester, and Bradford, and to deal with issues around knife crime, which are at epidemic proportions in London, Manchester, and Bradford. And I must also say that we need these spaces to engage with our young girls, because gender-based violence is a reality. And sometimes we need neutral spaces where to engage with our young girls so they can feel free to speak. Also must shout out, Charles mentioned appreciating Bradford heroes. Another Bradford hero who's been very helpful towards me and very inspirational to me is a man called Richard Reddy. Richard Reddy belongs to the Church Together in Britain and Ireland, and he's the director of the Crime and Justice Department, and he's a Bradfordian, he's a Bradford man. So there's many gems in Bradford. I only know 3, with all due respect to everyone. Not 3, I know a few, sorry, I don't know disrespect, but I know Tony very well, I know Rizwan very well, and I know Richard Reddy very well. And I love, every time I come to Bradford, I love coming to Bradford. I love coming, as you can see, I'm a bit chubby, so I love the Nando's in Bradford. and the Chinese that's near to the hotel, near the station. So Bradford is a lovely city, but I do hope and pray that we find positive ways in cohesion in helping our young people. At the moment now, I'm running a digital mentoring project where we're mentoring young kids over Zoom and Skype. I've got a wonderful team of 18 mentors, and we're getting some requests now from parents from Bradford. And the stories I'm hearing are very horrific, just like in London, Manchester, and Bradford. So I'm hoping we can find ways to work together to benefit each other, benefit our young people for better and not for worse. Thank you very much, Tony, and may you continue to work together. And I'm honored, and I'm hoping that Rizwan is still here, because I've been meaning to try to introduce you to Rizwan, but because you're both such busy people, it's been very hard to get you both on the same page. But hopefully today I can introduce you both. Without further ado, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Happy New Year. God bless.
Thank you very much, Ishmael. Please give him a big hand of applause. Yeah, also just to announce, Ishmael is also the founder of the Salam project, also Islam-based. So he's the first award recipient of the evening, and his award will be sent out to him digitally. So congratulations for all your work in Bradford and Manchester.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. God bless you. Also, I'd have to shout out Brother Rizwan Harris as well, who's worked with me a lot in Bradford, and through him, he gave me the gateway into Bradford, as well as yourself. Thank you very much. Shout out to Brother Rizwan Harris of Bradford New Muslims and Faith Inspire. Enough love. Pardon my Jamaican twang. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay, big kind of applause. We're going to bring in now also another inspirational initiative, Yorkshire Ambulance, and Angela is going to be speaking briefly about it. So a big hand of applause for her, please. Angela, over to you.
Well, thank you. And it's been so nice to be invited, obviously, today and to hear all of you working. So what I'm going to do today is tell you more about the work that Yorkshire Air Ambulance does. So it's very different to what everybody else has been saying. So our mission as a charity is to save lives. So at one point or another, we've all known or heard of individuals who's needed urgent medical attention, and this could be due to a fall, motoring incidents, sporting activity, medical condition, or simply walking, as accidents do happen. And I'm sure you'll all agree with me, if an incident happened to someone close to you, you'd want them to have the best care and to be treated as quickly as possible. So over the years, Yorkshire Air Ambulance has developed a sophisticated emergency service that provides state-of-the-art emergency medical care across Yorkshire and beyond. And it's this quick medical intervention that's provided by the crew that has a major impact on a patient's chances of survival and quality of life. I'm sure you're all aware Yorkshire has its fair share of remote, rural and densely populated areas, as well as major motorways and road networks such as the M62, M1, A1 and M18. For many people, when they learn that the fact that Yorkshire Air Ambulance is a charity comes as a huge surprise. We pride ourselves in being an organisation for everyone, regardless of a person's age or background. You may not be aware is that we are operational every single day of the year from 6 a.m. to midnight, and it costs £12,000 each day, which is £4.4 million per year to keep both of our helicopters operational. And on average, we help 3 people every single day. The charity has a tasking database, and this shows that last year we attended 116 incidences in the Bradford area alone. When we're out and about, we do get the opportunity to explain the fact that if each adult gave just £1 a year, that would help maintain our emergency medical service. And this message is really powerful and well received, as £1 isn't very much. We pay more than that for a cup of coffee. The people of Yorkshire are very generous. The support we receive is really heartwarming. The things individuals and groups get up to support their favourite charity is really amazing. And this could be things from a simple coffee morning, bake sale or raffle, through to those that take part in challenges such as Total Warrior, skydives, 3 Peaks, just to name a few. But it's not all just about the money. People help in so many different ways. They can recycle unwanted clothing, make items that we can use as prizes, and they donate their time to help out. Events that we attend have grown year on year, and many of these are in aid of Yorkshire Air Ambulance. The support from ex-patients, their families, friends and colleagues in wanting to give back is very hard to express by words alone. We also get the opportunity to give talks, have stalls and bucket collections at various venues throughout the year. As you may be aware, the impacts of the pandemic and social restrictions have meant we've had to cancel most of our usual planned fundraising activities. Although the Yorkshire Air Ambulance will lose a significant proportion of its budgeted income, we have been very fortunate that public donations, legacies and grants from trusts have helped to keep us flying at a time when we needed support the most. And for this, we are very thankful. When we've been out in the community, there has always been at least one person that's come up and told us their story. They wouldn't be here without us, how we helped rescue a loved one, airlifted a friend from a fall, plus those that are addicted to helicopter ER. Once when attending Bradford Broadway, in the space of 2 hours, we had 11 people share their story. On another occasion at Wakefield bus station, 18 people came up and said thank you, including one of the bus drivers, who has since done some crazy activities to raise funds for Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Our volunteers love telling us about the people they meet, and they will agree when I say it makes standing in the rain and cold, carrying that heavy gazebo, chasing after leaflets and merchandise after a huge gust of wind all worthwhile, as this is what it's all about, the people that we're able to help. They also have lots of fun by attending interesting and varied events. We couldn't cover all the events on our own as we're a very small team. They help by giving talks, attending chat presentations, stalls, bucket collections, collecting tins and stepping in at the last minute when needed. Our wonderful team of volunteers make it happen and possible. As with all charities, the impact of the pandemic on both our activities and fundraising has been significant. Ever mindful of the needs of our patients, we've been swift to adapt. Our crew trained with using full PPE. A protective screen has been fitted to the cockpit, shielding our pilots as far as possible. The crew are regularly called upon to assess hazardous areas from road traffic collisions, falls from height to industrial accidents. PPE clothing is therefore vital to ensure everyone's safety. The operational challenges currently facing have led our teams to focus their immediate efforts on tackling the various aviation factors to make sure that we can still carry our patients by air. The use of appropriate PPE and the development of opportunities to support the wider healthcare service. Even as a charity, we've still been very active during the pandemic, even though we've not been able to go out. And we actually know how important it is to connect within the community. And over the last 6 months, we've been working on a project called Building Bridges, which is our community project, which will allow us, once we're able to do so, to work more closely and develop our relationships within the community, as well as offer Zoom talks. And we'd love to discuss how we can work with your groups in due course. So do feel free to get in touch. As we go into a new year and with challenges ahead, the charity is very grateful for the ongoing support and goodwill shown by the generous people of Yorkshire. So with all our best wishes to you all for 2021, stay safe and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Angela. Give her a very big hand of applause. Absolutely amazing. And all the speakers today are so amazing. I'm sure it's going to be inspirational moving forward. I just want to take 2 minutes to show my respect to family and friends. So we're going to log on to Lagos, Nigeria now, where my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Fernandez, are listening quietly. A big hello to them. Can you kindly unmute them, please, for them to speak? Derek?
You found all these wonderful people.
Yeah, so that's my parents there. Big hello to them. Also moving to New Jersey to my sister, Nicolette, also listening in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining and thank you for all your support. Thank you very much.
Also still in Lagos, my brother, Stephen Fernandez. Do say hello to everyone. Oh, we can't hear him. Okay, moving on to London, a friend of mine also, good supporter, Ebele Obumselu. Do say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. And it's been very interesting listening to the little presentations given so far. Thank you.
We're also going to listen, move on quickly to Manchester, to another big supporter, Mr. Patrick Obidoyin, who is part of the management of the Nigerian Association of Manchester. Hello, Mr. Patrick. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's been a very lovely discussion. Thanks to all the presenters, Philip Davis and Sheena. I've really enjoyed the discussion. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna move now just to another city, just to look at how people do things in other cities. We have a young gentleman who's an activist. We're having problems with the presentations, so just speak orally. But this young man is doing some great work in Middlesbrough, and he's always very passionate to collaborate with other organizations. So, Comrade Odedeji, the floor is yours. Olalekon.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Olalekon Odede. I'm a community activist, and I'm also a social entrepreneur with MSc in supply chain management. Having had my master's degree in Coventry, I believe education is the greatest weapon to make a change. So I decided to proceed for my doctorate degree, which brought me to Middlesbrough here in Teesside. And Teesside is one of the most diverse environments within the neighborhood. It has a 1.25% of African, Black, British, which is more than the North area, 0.5%. However, I had a very first-hand discrimination and kind of a racial bias I was exposed to. And through that, I said, I have to go by what Shirley Chisholm, she's the first African elected woman in the US Congress. She said, you don't make progress by standing on the sideline, whimpering, complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. So that led my decision to say, oh, I need to get involved with local politics. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I set up an organization called Save the Woman. Hello? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. So I set up an organization called Save the Woman. And we organize different events. And one of the speakers at the event says that the struggle is real, but the real courage and the dream and desire of the immigrants to succeed in this environment is by doing what? Is by being a catalyst to change. So part of what we do is to provide advocacy support for African, Asian, and minority ethnic community members. But recently, from 2019, we had a first case of our clients of a families of children in care, of who their children have been taken into care system. And we have been supporting the community through this support. However, like the first speakers mentioned, in terms of racism, in terms of discrimination, in terms of a double standard within the system, within the process, there's a lot needs to be done. And in UK, you could see the young generation, they come together, both white, both black, both any ethnic minority, they lead the protest of Black Lives Matter. For them to come together, they realize there's a problem. So I think this is the problem we are having with the elderly ones in the community. They don't want to accept that there's a problem. And if you don't accept the problem, how do you make a progress? It is difficult, because if somebody think something is not right and you said, forget about it, let's move on, the relationship will not last. You must reach a consensus and understand and break that barrier. So that's why we set up a project called Building Bridges, Breaking Barriers. We look at the children's social care system because it's a very vital provision that we need for the community. Local authorities are meant to provide early intervention support to ensure the safety and the well-being of children, which is the priority. But how do they support? How do they strengthen family, helping children safe in their respective home, and also providing the necessary care? But in Middlesbrough, like I've mentioned, there is a level of disproportionate representation of Black children in care system. And when you look at the report from 1983 from a Member of Parliament, House of Commons, they work on what we call Black children in care, evidence to the House of Commons Social Services Committee, 1983. If you Google that, you will see a lot of recommendations, which majority of local authority have ignored. Possibly they are not aware of it. It's been a long time, 1983. There's a report that come out in a research, this 2020. It says, Nigerian parents have fears of parenting while Black in Britain. Why is it that? There are research that participants, they said, they shared in research that they were often misunderstood by the social services, children's service departments. They were often misrepresented, and they were also encountering a lot of discrimination within decision-making system. And for the local politicians, guess what they believe? There is a lot of neglect and abuse within African community. African community don't know how to parent. Is it the real story? No. They lack culturally competence and ability to understand individual people with their values, with their cultures. And when a concern is being raised, how fairly are they looking to this? Middlesbrough is not the only problem. Bradford is one of the cities that has the largest number of children in care. And when the population of a particular community is as low as 1.25%, and they're having their children of more than 3.5, close to 5% of representation in care system, you know there must be a problem. And the parliamentary report says that there is a risk, more significant harm in care system. In the UK, as at 2020, 80,000 children are in care system. Over 12,000 are lost. They are nowhere to be found. So majority of our children taken into care when the parents need them, nowhere to be found. So care system should be the last resort. So what are the supports providing for families? Government is spending a lot of money on over £132,000 per year for a child to be taken into care. And you cannot support family that are maybe challenging in kind of their level of income. Maybe they are low income. You cannot support family of 3 children that has no playroom or garden. The decision is to take a children into care. This is not helpful. So we have been doing that, and what we do is launch a parenting course, which was published by the Northern Echo local reporter. But before then, the politicians' beliefs is a mere criticism. So we are calling on the local authority, individuals. For instance, we have MPA, for them to look into this matter. But thank God, yesterday, Education Minister has launched a care review of children's social care system, which is a good news. Fine. In what way would be effective is for all voices to be heard. I'm not sure in Bradford how this can be done, because it's going to be a difficult task here in Middlesbrough. Since 1889, the town hall of our council chamber was launched. We have never had one Black African councillor.
Okay, I think we've lost Comrade Oladeji. So let's quickly move on to speak with Franz Lee of the LEAP Bradford, a very profound initiative here in Bradford. Please give her a big kind of applause, please.
Hello. Tony, thank you, Tony. Tony, would you mind making me a co-host so that I can put my presentation up? Is that okay?
Okay, Derek, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Franz Lee Hadriziak, and my colleague Celia Hickson is also here with me this evening. And we're both community development managers with the LEAP. And I'd like to tell you a bit about us and what we're trying to achieve. Now, I'll just share my screen if I can. Could somebody help me and enable the screen sharing, please? There we go. Thank you. There we go. Brilliant. So yes, we're the LEAP, and we're all about supporting and growing community-led culture in Bradford and Keighley. And when we talk about culture, we're talking about music, film, theatre, gaming, fashion, comedy, you name it. That's what I'm talking about. And we're a creative people and places programme for Bradford and Keighley. We're supported by Arts Council England and Bradford District Council, and also Bradford for Everyone as well. And what we're about is we want to create new arts and cultural experiences with communities in the places we live. We need more stuff happening around the corner rather than, you know, just in town centres and city centres. We need stuff happening where we live, in the places that we live. And arts and culture is an excellent way to bring people together from different backgrounds, different walks of life, and share experiences. You know, it can help us make us feel better. It can put a smile on our faces and communicate our stories in really cool and interesting ways. We'll be launching lots of new projects this year, so watch this space. We've currently got 2 opportunities available to help support your creative ideas. I'd like to ask is Celia still about?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, brilliant. Celia, if you wouldn't mind telling everybody about the Changemakers opportunity.
Well, I just wanted to say that we've got one of our program reference group newly appointed as of yesterday, Sheena. We've gone through a recruitment process through the pandemic, which hasn't been easy, but yeah, we feel like we need to shout about our successes. So congratulations, Sheena. And we've got a really exciting group of people together who are going to act as our internal quality board. However, there is a challenge for us. We have not got the kind of representation we wanted from the Black community. And so if anybody here tonight feels the need, the urge, the desire to come on board and help us out, we would be amazingly grateful. So Changemakers. Changemakers are people who have passion about a neighborhood, about an initiative, about something they want to get off the ground, but they don't really know how to get that going. So we want to take people on a journey with us to help them become more confident about bringing people together to develop culture at a hyper-local level. So in neighborhoods, in streets, in blocks of houses, wherever you are, so helping people and supporting them to get their ideas off the ground and really start to embed culture at grassroots level. So it might be post-pandemic, everybody wants to have street parties, great, you know, we'll help facilitate that kind of thing. It might be that people want to get intergenerational projects off the ground. There's loads of discussions at the moment about how young people have felt left behind and their mental health has suffered. So ways to engage with young people to help support them and make them feel better connected to their communities and better connected to their peers and, you know, the wider Bradford set of residents. So Changemakers is currently under, we are recruiting at the moment, so applications can come in at any time. There's no age limits. We start at 11 and we finish as old as anybody can be. We'd like to be, my creative producers give me this phrase, we need to be representative of contemporary Bradford. So have as many different ethnicities represented, as many different ages. So yeah, we're looking to represent the whole community rather than traditionally those who came forward and volunteered. We're looking beyond that. We want to go behind to the hardest to reach communities and to the communities that don't necessarily think of themselves as being involved in arts and culture. So we're looking for people to help spread the message. We're looking for people to apply, and we're looking for people to engage with the programme. We're a 4-year programme initially. We hope to be here for much longer than that. Fransley and I are keen to talk to people, having been in the job since July. We've not really met many folk because we've been in some sort of restriction or lockdown ever since then. So I'm based in Manningham City, Fransley's based in Keighley, and we'll put our details in the chat. And if you want to find out more or get involved or, you know, give us some, you know, leads and names on groups that we should get involved in, all of that would be immensely helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd just like to give a shout out to another opportunity as well. Celia mentioned young people earlier there, and we've got Radical Social Awards, which is funding and support for 16 to 25-year-olds to test an idea that tackles social change through creativity. And I've actually got, so the deadline for that is the 28th of January. And I've got a short video that I would like to show you all, so I can let the young people in the video tell you themselves what the importance of supporting people to be creative in Bradford and Keighley. It's very short.
A lot of people ask me, like, how do I feel like Bradford has defined me? Do I feel like my area's defined me? It's made me who I am today, and I know that sounds so cliche. But it's so true.
We need to work within Bradford and show Bradford and its people at their full potential. And
there are young people out there that are very passionate about getting involved, and maybe they want to, but maybe they just need a bit more direction.
You can get opportunities, but it doesn't come easy, so you have to go for them.
I see a lot of people just gravitate to career roles that visibly look successful because that's what everybody else is doing.
Some people are scared to take risks. They think, oh, what are people going to think if I do this? You're just limiting yourself.
We can be creative, but we don't like showing people how we're creative. I just need the courage to take it outside of my own room.
I think everyone has to have like a chance to talk about what they want to do.
I've always wanted to do something for the world. I've always loved animals, I've loved the planet, I've loved helping other people out.
You can make a career, which is a good thing, obviously, but you can also help other people make a career. If we have more young people making a difference, this city would actually benefit from its community.
We need more people that are investing in local areas. How can we expect our young people to value themselves if we don't install value into them from the very start?
I want to do more stuff led by young people and made for young people, then it kind of seems more authentic.
I would say let the young people express themselves, let them create it.
Leading with change, leading by example. I feel like that's exactly what I've set out to do.
Look at that. Look at that.
I hope you enjoyed that. Those young people are fab, absolutely awesome. Yes, so our goal is to bring community arts and culture into the mainstream, and this isn't something that we can do on our own. So please come talk to us, check out the website, follow us on social media, get in touch, come and speak to us, and let's make great, awesome, creative things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Please give her a very big kind of applause. Okay, and this evening, if by any chance you forget to, any of you forget to get in touch with anyone, just contact me and I'll put you in touch as well. We continue to celebrate great people doing great work within our community. So well done for that. I want to bring in now, as part of community cohesion also and diversity, Anza Budu, who will be speaking on disabilities, which is also very important in any society we live in, considering the prejudices. So Anza Budu.
So yes, hi everyone. This is a little bit just off the bat, so I'm just going to speak and have a timer running so I don't overrun. So my name's Anza Budu. I am treasurer of Leeds Disabled People's Organisation. I'm also part of the sort of background committee of Africa for You as well. We're based in Leeds, as the name suggests, and we represent and work for everyone with any kind of disability. Previous to this, I was on the board of Disability Support Bradford. So I have a long relationship with Bradford, both with them and as an artist working with poets, puppeteers, and installation artists in Bradford. We have quite a diverse community. There's me, I'm from Mauritius. One of our co-chairs is from Egypt, the other from Ireland, and our fourth committee member is from the US. So we're very diverse within ourselves, within the impairments we have, from blindness, fatigue conditions, autism, and hearing impairment, and many other things. We work on behalf of anyone with any kind of disability. So we had a little bit earlier on talking about racism and talking about religious discrimination, and of course kind of slotting into there, we also have a lot of discrimination based on disability and impairment. We've been working with West Yorkshire Police both in Leeds and Bradford on hate crime. We've also been working to improve the accessibility of the local facilities in the city centre in Leeds, and with the station redevelopment as well. We also put on a number of events. So I also work for an art collective which is based between me in Leeds and my partner in Todmorden, so kind of Bradford in the middle between us. And we work with repurposing plastic waste, and we put on accessible craft workshops. So we've got another one on the 13th of February, which will be live streamed, and I will put booking details in the chat later on. And also I work with an organisation called Possible, and another kind of community cohesion issue that we face as a society is air pollution. And Possible, the organisation I work for, has been working with Rosamund Kissy-Deborah, whose daughter Ella is the first person to be recorded as dying from air pollution, and hoping to kind of also improve local air quality and local streets, but that's a day job. But we've been putting on a load of events. We're involved with LGBT representation of disabled people with Leeds Pride, and we put on events like quizzes, and we've got our 3rd birthday event coming up as well, with talks, really just try and reduce the social isolation that many people with disabilities are facing, particularly at the moment with COVID. And we would love for people to get involved, help support us, whether you're disabled or not, whether you're immediately in Leeds or not, because some of our committee are unfortunately having to work remotely from Ireland and Egypt at the moment. And yes, just we would love to hear from you. We would love to have opportunities to cooperate. Get in touch and let's see what we can do together. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anza. A big kind of applause for him. I also want to bring in now briefly Yusuf Alam, a journalist, just to talk briefly about his own initiatives. Yusuf Alam, please.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, thanks to Tony for inviting me. And yeah, it's been nice to hear everyone. I know some people here, I know a few faces, recognize a few names. And yeah, it's really nice to hear some of the stories people are putting out, some of the initiatives people have got going, sort of in the wake of the current climate as well. So that's really good to hear. So me personally, I'm a journalist for the TNA, Telegraph and Argus in Bradford. As a disclaimer, I'm speaking from a personal point of view today, not on behalf of any organisation. But yeah, I'm not going to speak too long. I've not prepared anything. But yeah, as a journalist, I sort of like to tell stories in Bradford that are sort of missed in a sense, especially when it comes to minority groups, whether that's ethnic minorities or any other kind. And I think, you know, given the current climate with COVID as well, we've seen a lot of fear that was probably already apparent, but just increasing really. A lot of fear, a lot of suspicion, a lot of scapegoating, not just in Bradford, but, you know, worldwide essentially. But, you know, I think it's important to sort of look at racism, discrimination at a time like this, and to sort of represent for those voices that aren't really heard. So, yeah, essentially what I'm here to say is if anyone would like some sort of publicity and to sort of tell their story, if you're in the Bradford district, you know, please do get in touch. My details will be left on this chat. But yeah, just to sort of give a voice to the voiceless, essentially, because we live in a city where, you know, 30% of people are people of colour, but those stories are not often told, unfortunately. So yeah, that's essentially my message today, and I'd just like everyone to sort of get in touch if they would like to sort of tell their stories, or to ask any questions, even if it's not a story, or we can sort of make inquiries and stuff. But yeah, well done to everyone who is receiving awards today as well. I think Africa for You is an organisation which is really important, sort of providing that representation to not just the African diaspora, but, you know, people of colour in general in Bradford, in the Bradford district and beyond. So it is really refreshing to have this sort of open dialogue and conversation taking place. So I think Tony and everyone involved and everyone here today as well deserves a lot of plaudits for that. So yeah, I will leave my details in this chat for everyone. And yeah, please contact me if you would like to raise anything really, even if you're not sure if it's a story or if it's not a story. You know, there's no harm in sort of starting the discussion and the dialogue. So please do get in touch. I'm always interested to hear stuff from various communities in Bradford that aren't obviously listened to or heard. So it's sort of been a mission of mine since I started this job, given the fact that I'm not sure the exact figure, but I believe like 95% or 90% of journalists in the UK are white British. So that sort of tells a tale in itself, really, that, you know, the voice for minority groups is not often heard. So yeah, it's sort of a personal mission of mine, really, to try and tell those stories. I can't change everything on my own, but, you know, it's all about sort of taking small steps, really. But yeah, thank you for listening. That's my message, essentially. That's all I've really got to say. But yeah, well done to everyone who's been speaking, who's receiving awards, and keep doing what you're doing. I suppose the empowerment is quite good to see, because it's, you know, especially in this period where, you know, we can't see each other face to face and stuff, the conversations aren't always there, but it's really nice to sort of be a part of this. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Yusuf Alam. A very big kind of applause just at your doorstep, providing you great media. Thank you very much. We're going to round off. We've got very few speakers left, but we're going to round off. Thanks for everyone coming this evening. I hope you find it inspirational, and I hope you find this a platform to network and engage with everyone as well. Our second award for the evening, which is going to be sent out virtually, is going to go to the Indian Women's UK, who have been doing some amazing work. But I have Havinder here, who I would like to introduce us to the Indian Women's UK. Big kind of applause, please.
Hi, thank you, everybody. Tony, if you don't mind, I've asked one of the ladies to accept the award, because they do all the work. I'm one of the guys that arrange and do the running around. So I'm going to let Seema Bhutto, if you can put her on the spotlight video, let her explain what we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lady Seema Bhutto, over to you.
Thank you.
And
Namaste,
congratulations.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste, everyone. I am Seema, and I am part of Indian Women Community UK. And first of all, thank you very much for giving us this award and giving this recognition. It's greatly appreciated by not just me, but the whole group. We really, really appreciate it. For those who don't know what we are all about, it was mentioned that we have done some great work. We formed this group only when the lockdown began as a need. And little did we know that this is going to continue for such a long time. And we ourselves are very proud of what we have done, and we are hoping that we will continue to contribute to our Bradford local community and other communities too. So I'll give you a little rundown of what we have achieved since March 2020. We hold daily religious well-being Zoom sessions for all age groups. We have Bhangra dance classes for ladies and children to keep them fit as well as for their well-being. We've raised 15K for the charities, and we've made over 5K hot meals in this time. We have given over 2 tons of food to our local food banks. We've collected over 1 ton of clothing for the homeless. We provided meals for NHS staff, paramedics, police, homeless, international students, nursing homes, children in poverty scheme. We have worked with registered homeless projects such as Bradford Curry Project, Monday Munch Homeless, Support Bradford, and Homeless Hampers Leeds. IWC is a part of Bradford Hindu Council, who have also been involved in lots of community work during the last 7 months. I would like to finish with a little prayer, if you don't mind. This is an interfaith event, and I am sure you would appreciate a little prayer. I'm going to recite my prayer in the language of Sanskrit, which is where the origin of the Hindu religion is. And then I will translate. So it's a very short prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet. Om Shanti 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 Om. May all be prosperous and happy. May all be free from illness. May all feel spiritually uplifted. May no one suffers. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.
Amen. Thank you very much. A wonderful prayer in this COVID season, something to lighten up our seasons, and always remember that great things unfold once we trust and we're passionate about our beliefs and our hard work. So it's amazing, and you're all beautiful people. I want to call on the next awardee for the evening to speak very briefly. He runs a church called the New Joy Christian Church. He's a pastor. His name is Pastor Kofi. He's also a published writer, and he's also the owner of one of the African restaurants in Bradford. So if you fancy some African food at some point, do get in touch with him. He will leave his details. Congratulations on your Kofi, and just tell the listeners a bit about your initiatives.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, everyone. First, I would like to say a very massive thank you to Tony again for this great initiative that is going on right now. I believe, and I always tell Tony this, that we need more of these things in Bradford to bring us together, not just to appreciate us, but also to encourage other people to step out there and do more, because there is definitely a lot out there to be done. I'm representing the New Joy International Gospel Church and the Young Spice African Foods to receive this great award from Tony and the team, and the great things that you guys are really doing. Just a quick one, and I think the New Joy is a church that I lead with my wife, and really is a place of worship. It's a place of worship that we provide place for people to come in and worship and serve God, communal prayers, individual prayers, especially even in these very difficult times like this. So we've put all social measures in place so people are able to come in as individuals or as a group and then also be able to worship. But aside this, I think what has brought us here today is the community impact and initiative that we've been doing in the last 5-6 years since we've been existent in Bradford. We are so much passionate about individuals, families in community, in small places, corners, places that usually people will not go. And that is why I want to use this to really as an opportunity to really encourage more of us within our community. There are many needy people in our community, and just like has been shared briefly, we have also been able to gradually support families, support individuals, cover some people, their bills. Just this past Christmas, we've been able to hand over hampers to very rural places around us, providing food, providing clothes, providing shelter in some ways to many individual families, and also helping them to also to really get back to their feet, some linking them to jobs and creating that opportunity for them. And that is what the church has been able to do this year. And just at the tail end during the COVID, we were able to reach out to Amley prisons, where we discovered that there have been COVID cases. And so even visitors have not been allowed to visit, or parents or family members have not been allowed to visit. So the atmosphere out there, you can only imagine, during the holiday periods have been very low. And so we were able to provide things that they needed, like handkerchiefs and warm socks, Christmas gift and other things. which we couldn't really go in there, but with what we heard from the people that we were able to connect with, it really went down a long way, and they are looking forward for us to come in there and have a good time with them when COVID cases have dropped and then the prisons are able to open up. We've been able to also cook through the Yam Spice initiative, which I'll talk briefly about it because time is very short, to NHS, especially the NHS in Dewsbury, different NHSs around our community here. We provided hot meals for them as a thank you from the church. Ambulance session in Bradford here, we provided food and as a thank you for all the hard work they are doing in the midst of this. So from the New Joy International Gospel Church, I believe the church has been and continues over the last 6 years to really be a community-based church where we may not have much, but people are dedicated in donating and in contributing. We also want to thank the NHS in Dewsbury, provided a lot of kids' toys that went to many kids this season where probably they couldn't have had toys or gifts. All of them wrapped nicely and presentably sent to homes and families around the Bradford district here in different local communities. Also thank ASDA, where they also supported us with some provisions that have all together been able to go. We continue to do that this year in the midst of the COVID and to provide all the needs to families. So that is from the New Joy point of view. The Yam Spice Foods is also an organization that has been founded. It's an African restaurant. We discovered that, you know, as big as Bradford is, you can have African food, and we wanted to add African taste to what is going on, the already big food cycle in Bradford. So my wife and I came together to set up this organization and also to really help, especially our Black folks and our Black community, to really get out there. Let us also get out there. If you have a business idea, anything that you can do, please let us together step out there. You know, so this is all that we've been doing from the New Joy International Gospel Church and the Yam Spice African Food. Yam Spice can now be, you can find us on Uber Eats, you can find us on Just Eat. I will leave contact and details here for those who also want to, you know, have a taste of African food. COVID came, we started somewhere in 2020, but we had to close for 6 months. But God being so good, we thought we couldn't survive, but we have been able to survive throughout the COVID. And so we are remaining open. Now you can't come in, but we do deliveries because we have our partners, and then we have our delivery drivers who will deliver your food to you. You can find us everywhere on like I said, on Just Eat, on Uber Eats, on Google, and our website. I will leave some links here. And if you want to call us directly to order, you can, and taste food. You want to support the church, you want to join us and to impact in the community's youth and other things, we are doing great. And time is not on our side to really talk much about it, but I want to say a big thank you to everybody and everything that we are doing here. Tony, thank you once again for what you are doing to bring us together and also to encourage each and every one of us to go out there, especially people who are not here, to everybody do a little bit we can. And together we see a new Bradford and that is revived, and great things are happening here and great things can continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Give him a very big kind of applause. Great things happening in our community, and it's so amazing because the Interfaith award winners tonight, you can see the impact they have in a community. So it doesn't really matter what faith you belong to. It's not just about your beliefs. It's what you do in the community to make change, and that's important. I must say that Davinder, who is part of the United Sikh Association in Bradford, who is also an award winner this evening, sends her apologies, so she cannot receive her award. So that's going to be sent out to her digitally. And we're slowly coming towards the end, but we're going to bring in, I'm going to bring in now one of my young mentees, if she's still here, Jacqueline Waziri from Tanzania. She's based in London. She published her first book last year. Just to talk briefly about her book. Jacqueline Waziri, please.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I cannot put the camera on, but I'm so happy to be here this evening, celebrating such an amazing night. And let me just say a huge thank you to Mr. Tony for the great work that he does for the community. I can see the change that it brings, and just the abundance of togetherness and unity. So I'm truly celebrating this moment. So yes, my name is Jacqueline Waziri, and I am from Tanzania, 27 years old, and I've just published my first book called Mwana. And Mwana in Kiswahili, which is my mother tongue, means youth and child. So I use my writing my art of the poetry gift that I have to inspire other youths in the community, Black youths, African youths, to bring them healing, light, and hope. And that's just my story. So I use my gift to inspire an identity that they can also be familiar with, to share with our neighbors, so they can also identify where we come from and our journey. So yes, thank you so much, Mr. Tony, and thank you so much, everyone, for such an amazing night. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. A big kind of applause to her. We are more or less coming to the end now in two minutes, but I just want us to use this 2 minutes to use the chat box to either network or, chat with someone privately you want to collaborate with, or even get in touch, contact with me, and I'll put you through. We continue to celebrate the great work people do in communities, and it's so amazing to have you all here this evening. In spite of the COVID season, great things unfold once we are able to be passionate and do the things we're meant to do to bring change in our society. Also, a big thank you to MP Philip Davis for joining us this evening as well. And before we go, is there anyone that has anything to say that hasn't spoken, which would add some color to this evening? In that case, it's so lovely to...
I wanted to say one thing, sorry.
Sure.
I would like to put my hands out to the brother from the New Joy International Church, who've been very inspirational to me when I've come to Bradford and I've seen the great work that they've done. And I'm so glad. I think I was on my way to the train station and I saw your restaurant. So I wanted to find out in the future, hopefully when this COVID thing dies down, if hopefully in the future we could do something in partnership to be held at your place, at your restaurant in the future.
Yes, Ishmael. Yes, Ishmael. Thank you. Really, thank you. Yes, Ishmael. I'm looking forward to that. And I think we've done it before. So you and I and Tony and everybody, we can do it again. So I'm looking forward to that. Really, I think we can do something. So we will talk on this, and we will get it done the second time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor, and thank you, Tony, as well, for hosting such a brilliant event. I talk too much, so I'm going to shut up. Thank you.
I would like to say something. I would like to thank Tony for hosting this event. I think Tony has really a very, very special talent in bringing people from diverse backgrounds together in meaningful ways. It's not a talent that is particularly common. So I'd like to give him a round of applause for doing this.
Thank you so much, Ebele. Ebele lives in London, and he's also been a supporter of my Black History Month events at House of Parliament for 7 years. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. The conversation continues, and as I said, I will also be forming a WhatsApp group this evening to take that conversation forward, and also a virtual show to promote the initiatives locally. God bless you and have a wonderful evening. Take care.